Yay, we are live. Hello, my loves. It has been a minute since I've shown up on a live, and there's a big reason for that, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But the reason why I wanted to hop on here with you today was because of a lot of chatter. I've been hearing a lot of feedback. I've been getting a lot of downloads I've been receiving. And I wanted to share what I've been hearing with you all. Hi, Maura. Thank you so much for joining. So, if you guys are new to me, new to my page, welcome. My name is Lauren Dragon. I'm a spiritual advisor, and I'm here to help bring you into your highest level of evolution and connecting you to your higher self in the process. Hi, Gabby. How are you, babe? So, lately, if you are part of the collective, which chances are, if you're watching this now and you like my page or you follow me on Instagram or you're subscribed to my newsletter, chances are you are a light worker. Chances are you're an empath. Chances are you feel all the things, right? And lately, we have been getting wailed hard, right? We have either been feeling like we are questioning our purpose, questioning our mission, questioning as to whether or not we're even doing what we're supposed to be doing in our life, right? And let me know if what I'm saying is resonating for you. But questioning that, maybe you're questioning your relationships, maybe you are, just in a place of uncertainty and not knowing how to move from that space, from that place. And that's okay because collectively, that is what we are experiencing. Between the portal that was open on 7/7 and that energy that came in, between the Schumann resonance that's been hitting all of us recently, it feels like we're all in this pressure cooker. Like, it's been wild. It has been wild. And I know personally, I was down and out all day out of commission yesterday. Like, my body hurt so badly, I couldn't even move. Like, it pained me to get up. And that is what we're facing right now. Like, that is the energy. And so I really had to sit because recently a lot of my own shadows have been coming out to play. And isn't that so much fun when they're like, oh, hi, yes, I want to make myself known. Here's a trigger for you. Here's a trauma for you. Here's a projection for you. Here is a pattern going to reveal itself. And it's your choice whether or not you do something with it, right? Like, isn't that so fun? Yeah, no. I don't think that shit is fun at all. But right now we are being called. It is time because as this energy is propelling us forward, it's moving us into this next stage of our own evolution. We can't sit with the same shadows that brought us to this point. You can't anymore because they're going to serve as anchors. They're going to keep you stuck. They're going to keep you rooted in the ruts that you are in instead of being able to evolve, instead of being able to move forward. So that is what I want to speak about today. That is what Source has been literally pushing for me to voice to you. And that is part of my own shadow, showing up. Because for the longest time, one of my biggest shadows, one of my biggest pain points has been no one cares what I have to say. No one gives a shit. There are so many thought leaders out there. There are so many people that people can choose to listen to, and take advice from, or, whatever it may be. But that is part of my shadow that I am working through right now. And that is also why I've created the container that I've created recently. And we'll talk about that in a second too. But for those of you who are just tuning in live, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me. And if you're tuning in for the replay later on, welcome as well. You're going to receive this message exactly in the time that you are meant to hear it. So what I wanted to talk about today is the fact that we need to recognize that it is not our responsibility for how others perceive us. I'm going to say that again. It is not our responsibility for how others perceive us. Because at the root of that lies a shadow. We are worried if we are going to be accepted. We are worried if we are going to be loved. We are fearful if people are going to push us out, cast us aside, abandon us, reject us, not allow us to feel their presence. So what do we often end up doing? And this goes for all things in our lives. We know what it feels like to remain in a place of comfortability. Comfortability equals stagnation. Comfortability equals feeling stuck. Because we know that space. We know that space well. It's so much easier to sit in our own feeling of, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what action to take, or, whatever. This is as good as it's going to get, versus allowing ourselves to move, allowing ourselves to feel that fire, to finally look at what is keeping us stuck there in the first place. There is this innate fear that so many of us experience when it comes to examining our own proverbial shit, is that there's this fear of diving in to what we're going to find. Because it's so much easier, again, to remain in that place of feeling like, yeah, this is as good as it's gonna get. Like, this is all I've got in this lifetime. Or, I don't know what choice to make, so I'm just not gonna make any choice at all. If that resonates for you, please put a 1 in the comment below. I'm gonna put a 1 in the comment below. Oh, I can't add into the comments. I need to can someone put a 1 for me? It is so much easier. It is so much easier for us to remain in that space of not taking action, because that requires us to really examine where we are at. How many of us feel more comfortable just remaining in the dark, not having the clarity? We really want the clarity at a higher level, but when it comes down to it, it's like safer. It's safer to not take action. It's safer to not know, right? But then we get angry with ourselves and upset with ourselves that we're not taking that action. Do you see how this is a cycle? Do you see how this is like this vicious loop and pattern that plays out? So the energy, guys, if you tuned in to the very beginning of this video, the energy that has been coming up so much recently is this wave of propelling us forward so that the shift can finally occur, so that we can finally make the moves that we have been wanting, but really anchoring into feeling comfortable and would rather be stuck. And so like I mentioned earlier too, I felt called about 2 weeks or so ago. Well, I got the call 3 months ago, but I was sitting in my own comfortable space and I didn't want to make moves with it. But I really got the nudge 2 weeks ago from Source to create a container. And this is something that is completely new to me. I don't do group programs. That's not something I do. I'm so inundated all the time with people creating these group programs, what? Like, I'm over it. I'm over the group programs. I'm over the selling. I'm over that feeling of bleh with it. And that is why I think Source also said to me, Lauren, it's time. It's time for you to create something in a smaller capacity for a greater number of people than just a one-on-one experience. And so that is why I created the Shadows Unveiled container, where I am diving into people's shadows with them in almost a one-on-one experience, but in a small, intimate group setting. And this is going to be something that is unlike anything I've ever created. It is not something that I normally do, like I said, because I think that there are so many people out there that are like, oh my God, come join my program. And it's, bleh, it just feels icky. It feels yucky. But in this container, there are going to be 10 souls. There are going to be 10 divine empaths, 10 light workers, 10 people that are ready to examine their own shadows and move through them so that they are no longer sitting in that place of feeling comfortable and stuck and stagnant. They are going to finally be able to look at the fears, the subconscious fears that probably initiated for them as a child, but have been playing out throughout their entire adult life and influencing their choices and influencing their actions. Instead of allowing them to move from an empowered place, they've been letting these shadows dictate what their life looks like for them without even knowing it. Because the events that happen to us as we are children oftentimes become part of our shadows if they go unaddressed. So maybe you had a parent that never fully loved on you. Maybe they viewed you as a burden. So now as an adult, you have trouble formulating and creating these healthy bonds or these healthy relationships with partners or maybe even with friends because you are truly afraid that your partner is going to abandon you or your partner is going to run from you or you're going to feel rejected and you don't feel worthy of someone else's love because that's how you viewed relationships and bonds as a child. Or maybe you were told that by being so loud as a child, maybe you were a loud child. I was a loud child. I'm still loud now. But maybe you were a loud child and maybe you were told to be quiet all the time or that good girls don't scream or, good girls don't yell or whatever it may be. Or maybe, good boys don't, talk so loud. And so then you began to quiet yourself. You began to close your throat. You began to bite your tongue or swallow your words because that's not what a good boy or a good girl did. And I just got chills. One of you at least resonated with that. So now you have this fear as an adult of speaking your truth, of speaking up, of communicating how it is you feel about something. Do you see what I'm saying? Does this make sense? So oftentimes, it's not just inner child work though, guys. It really is not. Inner child work is a big part of shadow work, but at the same time, we need to look at all of the pieces. And so sometimes it's also pieces that you have made, chosen, whatever, as an adult too. So I want to know if this is resonating for you, if what I'm speaking about is resonating for you in the sense that, is this calling to you? Is this like calling to your heart? Because so many of us are afraid of change because we get so comfortable in this space that we are in. But really, what would life look like if the shadows that are really steering the ship at a subconscious level no longer had the grip on you that they do? What would life look like? Would you feel like you are able to navigate life from an empowered place? Would you feel like you are able to heal and grow in real time? Do you feel like you would be able to allow yourself to finally become vulnerable and be seen. And you're no longer making choices for others. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm about to start crying. I think I'm channeling someone. Shadow work is hard because it's so much easier to let it go untended. It's so much easier to let the weeds grow in the garden than it is to pick them out. But what does that garden look like when you finally pick out those weeds? Yeah, it takes tending to. Yeah, it takes maintenance. But what happens when those weeds are no longer there? The flowers that are part of that garden, those vegetables, everything that you have planted with intention is able to grow, and that sun is able to allow it to bloom and to root without being entangled with the weeds that are trying to occupy the same space. That is the power of shadow work. Shadow work can be scary though. It really can, especially if you are trying to navigate it on your own. And like I said, that is why I created this container, because it doesn't need to be scary. And so within this container that I've created for the next 8 weeks, the doors are open until Thursday for you to join us as one of the 10 people inside this container in space. You will not only receive 3 one-on-one sessions with me where we deep dive into your shadows, into what is going on for you. You receive that personalized one-on-one support with me to finally pull out those weeds. But you also will receive 3 group trainings, not only with me. I wanted to call in the best of the best that I personally know and work with myself to make this happen. So you will be also able to gain wisdom, gain tools, activations, clearing, energy work from Brittany and from Kiki, 2 of my best friends, but they are experts in their fields and they are experts at what they do. And you also receive a group of all of us that are going through and navigating shadows together. And I kind of cursed out Source the other day because I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're bringing all my shadows out to play right now? I'm trying to create a container for people to help them navigate through their shadows. And then it dawned on me and I laughed. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, you saw this story. But I just laughed because I was like, oh, that's right. I'm meant to go through it alongside you. I'm not sitting here preaching that I'm the expert in any one thing, but I am going through the work and doing the work right alongside you. So within that community and within that group, we'll also be doing monthly Q&As where you receive continued support and you receive that continued feedback and get your questions answered for when you're not on those one-on-one sessions with me or when you're not within the group trainings with Kiki, Brittany, or myself. So it's through our knowing of our unconscious self that we find the root of our blocks, of our perceived limitations, and of our wounds. And it's also how we come to know ourselves in totality, because it's that light and dark, that contrast that really brings us into a wholeness of who we are, instead of allowing our shadows to dictate where we think we're supposed to be, or preventing us from fully embodying who we're meant to be because we're too terrified of what we're going to find, because it's too scary. We can't reach our full potential as a human in this 3D existence without meeting our shadows, because we have to work with those parts of ourselves that we've been told to not look at or to be ashamed of, right? Like, I remember, I don't know why Source is showing me this, but here I am, I'm emotional and I'm being vulnerable with you. There was an instance when I was a little girl, and um I was really upset. And I was in public. We were in a store and I was really upset about something. And I'll never forget my father saying to me, "Don't cry. You can't cry. It's not okay to cry. You're embarrassing me. You're making everyone stare at us." And it was in that moment that I didn't feel safe to allow myself to be vulnerable or show emotion or show expression or show when I was in pain. How many of you can relate to that? That's a shadow. That is a shadow. Part of our shadow, though, also, guys, is the brilliant aspects of who we are. It's our strengths. They are our gifts. Because we wouldn't have been told to shy away from them as children if they weren't truly powerful. Or we wouldn't feel ashamed of them if we weren't meant to house them in their totality. So our shadow is our greatest gift, but we are terrified to examine it. We're terrified oftentimes to look at it because what are we going to find? What subconscious fear are we going to be looking at? And what happens when we get there? How do we navigate that? How do I make sure I'm not stuck there for all time and eternity? Right? So that is why I created this container. That is why I created a home for 10 of you for the next 8 weeks. So if this video has resonated for you, if the message resonated and you received it here in your heart, please let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to share information on where you can find all the details about this container and what it includes, all of that good. But I want to actually look at the comments really quickly and see if there was any questions, because I wasn't paying attention. I was just channeling, guys. But please drop your questions or your comments below if you haven't already. Maura, with my Reiki certification I received a few years ago, I've helped to send energy to be of service. Yes. Used to work at the bank, passed away on Thursday, and I go out to my carnies. Yeah, the 144. Yeah, exactly. Amanda, you are not alone. And that's exactly what I was speaking to, wanting to have that clarity, but being terrified of the change. Because how are we going to be perceived by others once that shift has occurred? What is that going to bring with it when that shift has happened? Who are we going to embody? But really, that's also our ego's way of saying to us, you're fucking powerful. Maybe you should tone it down a little bit. That worry, that fear, that feeling of being nervous of, what is to come, shows you what is under the surface, shows you how much potential is there if you allow yourself to go there. I hope that helps. Yes. Your boss always tells you you're too loud. Yeah. I used to get that all the freaking time. All the time. When I worked for a wedding photography studio and I was the studio manager there. All the time. To tone it down. Turn the volume level down. That's what I always used to get told too. Yeah. So I hope this message, you received it, because it was something that Source was really nudging me to deliver to you guys. And if you have questions about any of it, if you have questions about shadow work, your own shadows, or you want more information about the container, I am here. The doors will be open for this space, for this house, until Thursday. at 5 o'clock Eastern is when I'm closing the doors. There are 9 spots still available. We are going to be diving in headfirst into our shadows so that way you can finally live the life that you are meant to live instead of allowing your subconscious fears to dictate what your life looks like. All right, guys, I will be in touch with you. I will be showing up more this week, talking more about shadows and tools and tricks and tips on how to navigate them yourself. But I hope that you have a beautiful rest of the day, and I'll be in touch with you soon. Goodbye.